So now diet and nutrition play a crucial part in our lives, not
Yeah.
just during menopause, but it improves the quality of life all along, right? So on that note, so most women, during menopause or when they're during the years around menopause, they complain about how difficult it is to reduce weight. They feel they're putting on weight unnecessarily or without knowing how they are after the mid 40s. Is it difficult to lose weight? Why is it so?
So if you ask most women, they'll say it's difficult to lose weight at any time, right? That's more of a psychological thing. But I
Right.
think what happens during menopause is what women don't understand is that there is things happening within our body that are actually not in our control. They are things because of our genetics, our lifestyle. I mean, a huge hormonal change that is going on. I like to call it like abhi to party shuru hui hai. You don't know what the night's going to be like. You don't know what the next few years are going to be like. Depends on how
Right.
you've lived your life before that. But one of the things that does start happening is because of the way the different hormones, and there's a plethora of hormones on there, few that play a major role during menopause. And for each woman, it's very, very individual. So one of the big things that, the way I work is on bio individuality. You are different than me, different despite our age, our race, everything. But what happens is during this time, because of the range of hormones and because of the lifestyle that women might be leading coming up to menopause, what happened during puberty, maybe pregnancy, is the metabolism starts slowing down. So a lot of women feel that even if you're eating the same thing, I'm putting on weight. A lot of women are putting on weight in their abdominal region. Some of it is prior lifestyle that they could maybe get away with in the younger years. And some of it is just hormones acting up. So other things kicking in, like you have a lot more muscle mass going down, and
Right.
thus your body is not processing the same number of calories at the same rate. So it's a different environment for your body. I wouldn't say all women gain weight, but there can be a tendency based on what your history has been. It's also, we'll talk about it maybe a little later. It's like a little bit of insulin sensitivity. So, depending on which hormone is playing in which way with your body, yes, it can generally become more difficult for women to lose weight or to even maintain the same weight.
Okay. Now also they say that the nutritional needs of women change, like once during their midlife or so. Now, what contributes to these changes, like the nutritional changes of women during menopause or when they hit after 40s?
Yeah. So, during menopause, it's like a bunch of hormones that are going up and down, different levels in your body, right? But the main ones being progesterone, testosterone, and estrogen. So, depending on how those are moving in your body, how your period is, working, how much is your flow, etc. Each woman may need different things. For example, if you have a lot of bleeding going into your menopausal period, you might really be very low in iron. And that iron may not just be able to be supplemented with an apple a day. For some women, an apple a day might work. For some, you may need a supplement. Some may need additional vitamin C going in with that iron for that absorption. There's also one major thing that happens is women run a higher risk of cardiovascular disease post menopause. So, bless the period, we actually are very protected from heart attacks almost always till we have our period, depending again on genetic history and other lifestyle factors versus men. So, I mean, it's like you start eating for cardiovascular health, technically, then closer only to menopause. But what becomes important is you need to up your omega 3s for your heart health. So, a lot of women start saying, oh, I'm eating the same way as I was when my husband had his heart attack now because, I'm at risk. But I mean, for us, the key thing is you start taking care of that way earlier, taking care of your health. And also another big important thing is your bone mass starts reducing. You're more prone to osteoporosis. So the calcium intake in your body would be required to go up, not just like in dairy, but non-dairy forms as well, or supplementation depending on where, the levels are in your body. So yeah, there are very specific needs depending on what each woman is more potentially at risk.
Right. Um, so now, just like how women complain about weight, right? Uh, there's also this fad of trying different kinds of diets. Now, most of this could be crash diets as well. Now, what I want to know, or rather, many people would like to know, is how does that impact their well-being, especially during their menopausal years, because they're at like further risk of serious conditions, right?
Yes.
How does that impact? How do the diets work? Uh,
So a lot of time, these so-called crash diets are only actually, making you feel better because temporarily it's the water weight that is going away, right? Like you, and a lot of women are just not eating or doing what, I mean, I remember like old times, the cabbage soup diet. Like you're going to have cabbage soup all day. You're going to be in bed all day. Like you're going to feel like that. You're going to feel like a cabbage who has no energy.
right.
And so one thing that happens is, people start feeling very good for maybe a day or 2 days. Oh, my pants feel a little better because it's just water that is going, which is not always the healthiest because sometimes people can get into dehydration. But what someone doesn't realize is that you lose the risk of losing very good muscle mass also. Anyway, with age, your muscle mass is decreasing. Going on crash diets, you're putting your body through torturous conditions where, again, your muscle mass, you might be losing that. Going into such a high calorie deficit. What people don't realize is your hair starts falling. I mean, there is such this image of beauty only related to weight, but it's so much more than just your weight. You could be a very healthy individual, maybe on the higher end of your BMI, but you lose the luster in your skin. Your hair is anyway with hormones going up and down, it's falling, or most importantly, the fatigue that comes with it. There's so much hormonal changes, and you're just tired. You need good nutrition to fuel this body. Another very important thing apart from nutrition that happens when people go in on crash diets is this obsessive, not very healthy relationship with food. The whole idea that, I don't need to put this in my body because I don't deserve it. It brings this whole, lower self image. I'm not worth it. Like, why am I not worthy of eating this piece of chocolate or this laddu? Like, this laddu is going to go straight to my sides. No, I mean, you are a wholesome, wonderful being and you deserve this laddu as much as anybody else in the world does. But people start establishing these very unhealthy relationships, which they can later move on, given to their kids as well, and also create lower self esteem issues for life, which are not very healthy. So there's anyway a lot that's going on menopause. We don't want to add to, that whole shebang of things by trying these crazy things out.
Yes, definitely. On that note, also, well, yes, crash diet is, I mean, that's something we shouldn't try. But how important is it to include supplements to your diet during menopause and the years after? I mean, generally, how good is it? What kind of supplements can women take as they tread towards menopause and to maintain overall wellness, if not natural menopause?
Yeah. So I think, just like the word says, right? Supplement. So it's something that you take in addition to all the other lifestyle modifications, in addition to the clean food that you're eating to enhance the food that you're eating already. So, for example, like I mentioned earlier, if you're eating iron, you'll add vitamin C to it because it enhances the absorption. If for some reason your body is not absorbing vitamin C adequately, in order for that iron to work, we might supplement it with a vitamin C, supplement for a short term or long term, depending on individual needs. The most important thing with supplements, though, is It's very individual. What works for you may not work for me, and the duration why you may need to supplement for will be very different from maybe me or a third person out there. I think around menopause also, it is again depending on what's happened leading to the menopause, whether they had a history of maybe PCOD, or what happened during their pregnancy, what were the nutritional deficiencies maybe that came up during those years as well. But key would be to look for supplements that are natural, non-GMO, something like Femarelle, which is not with artificial substances, as close to nature as possible. Something that you're not substituting for food that you eat, but you're enhancing your diet and your well-being with that. So, for example, if you're very, very low in calcium, you cannot be drinking 10 liters of milk a day, right? To get all that calcium. There's only so much milk that you can have. That's why we supplement with something which has calcium in it, so that, your body is okay and adaptive to the changes that your bone might be needing. So yeah, supplements taken carefully and take the right ones, definitely non-hormonal, non-GMO, clean products can definitely help in this journey. Like, menopause is a journey, so whatever it takes to get the assistance, and never be afraid to ask for help to get through it.
Okay. So there is, I mean, people shouldn't be like, say, nervous. Like when you say supplements, like people are like, usually concerned. Uh, is it okay to take? Not okay? Because many of it will come in capsule form
Yes.
and so forth. So you're saying it's okay to,
Yes, I mean, it's okay to take supplements as long as it's guided, and supplements are not a substitute for good food and good lifestyle. But if it's an aid, like we have to use it like the word, right? It's supplementing or aiding something already in your lifestyle, then it's fine to take it.
right.
And I mean, definitely, ideally under supervision of a doctor or a health coach, or, so you're not abusing it in any way, or, taking 4 supplements or doubling your dose on your own and not eating your clean meals, etc. So just in a more sensible manner.
Right. On that note, uh, many healthcare providers or practitioners or coach like yourself, they suggest Mediterranean diet for women after their 40s. What is Mediterranean diet now, and does it help in managing the transitions through various stages of menopause? Can everyone around the world do it?
So a Mediterranean diet, I think they suggest it to women because most people think the most gorgeous men come from the Mediterranean area. So women will just buy into it. But it's basically the diet around the Mediterranean region, right? Like what people in Spain, Italy, France, and Greece would eat. It became very, very popular as a pro cardiovascular diet. I mean, it's a diet that is very rich in lots of fruits, local fresh fruits, vegetables, legumes, beans, healthy fat, olive oil. So olive oil got really popularized after the Mediterranean diet came, got its whatever the media attention. It's a good lifestyle. You have to understand it's the lifestyle of the people in the Mediterranean region. This is what they have been doing for over 100 years, along with other things non-food related as well.
Right.
The key here is also not just focus on what they're eating, but what they also reduce is no processed foods, minimum refined sugar, and minimum refined foods in their diet. So it could be very similar to like an Indian diet. We could have a very similar thing over here as well. The idea is the lifestyle where we are eating a lot more fresh, wholesome foods. Another big change in the Mediterranean diet, I mean, for people completely out west, like in the Americas, is this move from red meat to seafood. But overall, the whole idea would be to eat meat maybe a few times a week, whether it's seafood or red meat, and focus on fresh fruits, vegetables, beans, lots of fiber. That's the Mediterranean diet. Honestly, every time I travel now, Like they popularized olive oil. Ghee is just as wonderful as olive oil as a healthy fat. And I see it very often in Italy and Spain now in cheese and butter shops as a delicacy, as what they are including in their diet because they've realized the benefits of it. So I wouldn't say that we need to focus on just one AKA diet, but eat as a lifestyle and taking, the good cues from there, including the healthy fats from there in whatever form that it's available to you.
Right. Here's for all our viewers.
Mm-hmm.
We will be taking the questions at the end of the session. Please do share your questions on the chat. Um, I mean, I already see some coming in, so I'm just encouraging this. And then we will answer. I mean, Gunjan will answer those questions for you. And let's continue. Would say that was,
Sure.
I think, like a short break or so. Now, getting back to the topic, uh, most women maybe like menopause itself is a kind of confusing phase. Most women won't be aware of what's happening, but at the same time, what to eat, what not to eat. They may be confused about their diet as well when they continue to gain weight during menopause transition for reasons known or unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Would it help to track their triggers of cravings and calories? I mean, what do you suggest they do, when they're confused about the diet, and what can they eat and what can't they eat, and what are healthy practices that they can develop?
Sure. So I think one of the most important things is focusing on whole foods, while, and also for women to remember that this is a big transition that they are going through, not just in their body, but also in their mind. Like it's a very big emotional transition as well. So acceptance is key. One, that I'm going through something like this and it's okay. And my body's needs are going to be different or maybe different every hour because it's going through the changes and I'm okay to embrace those changes. Um, I would say women don't generally need to eat very differently during menopause. I think one of the big things that happens is it's nature's way of saying women just need to focus on themselves for once. So much of their time goes in being caretakers. I'm going to eat after I feed the baby. Generally if you go in an airplane, they say you put your oxygen pump before, putting anybody else's. But women have the need that I'm going to feed everybody else and then I'm going to feed myself, or I'll eat what is left over. So the priority is to prioritize yourself, your wellness, your nutrition. Eat whole foods, eat nutritiously, take care of yourself. Why do women take care of themselves when they go through pregnancy? Because they have another life in them, but it's their own life also when they're going through menopause. Refraining from refined grains is very, very important. Also, managing foods that would not shoot your sugars or create a lot of insulin sensitivity. That becomes one of the major reasons women gain weight during menopause, is because of the other hormones. Their insulin is going up and down. So those are the kind of foods that women can focusing on a diet which is around those things, and also a lifestyle movement that is very important. I don't think counting calories, there's enough stress, there's enough fatigue going on. But if you eat a good, wholesome, and home cooked diet, predominantly home cooked, is that's the way your lifestyle should be around that time. One that is full of whole grains, lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of seasonal fruits and vegetables, as well as a lot of healthy fats, not fearing the fat. And as far as cravings go, it's okay, right? Like it's completely okay to have the cravings. And one of the most important things for women to realize is accepting and embracing those cravings. I have clients that we've worked with who, we've delved into the cravings over time, only to realize sometimes that craving is only because they are grieving a lost parent, and that food reminds you of that parent, and that's the only way you can connect with that parent. Or a client who constantly wants chocolate actually realizes that she is not getting enough sex in her life. So it's a lot. I mean, it's embracing that craving, why that change is going through, addressing the craving. If at that point, depending on what you're going through, you need to eat that thing, you eat that thing. There are ways we can work at to find healthier substitutes, which we can gradually bring into your lifestyle. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but the big part of it is accepting, embracing, being okay with it, and then gradually, adapting to the change.
Right. What about healthy practices like, say, journaling,
Mhm.
or tracking your calories or what you're eating? I mean, how does that help?
So it depends. There are some people, it depends on the person also, right? Like, so if, I see a lot of people who are like corporate CEOs, they're so used to tracking everything and tracking everyone that if they don't track, it's something that they can't function with. Versus there are a lot of people who maybe intuitive eating works, better. I think it's what fits into your lifestyle. Whether you, I mean, if you're going to be somebody who has to prepare a meal and go on your own, but in the middle of your work day or you're outside, I can't tell you take a bowl and put 200 grams and eat that, and if you eat 250, this is what's going to happen. No, like, I mean, there's a lot of common sense also and more intuition with your body. So calories are a general reference, but I think I would recommend you don't count your calories, count your blessings. There's so much to be grateful for around you. Be grateful for the food that's on your plate and eat wholesome, and the rest your body will work with you. If you don't dump stuff and treat your body with respect, you don't need to fear the calories that way.
Ah, so now, since we're talking about food, food is on most of our minds, at least mine for sure.
Mhm.
I'd like to ask you, what's the difference between whole foods and processed foods? Why is it important for us to eat whole foods?
So whole foods are foods, like I call them, closest to nature, right? So processed food is stuff that is made in a plant. Whole foods is stuff that comes from a plant. So a very simple thing like orange juice, like you eat an orange, it comes from an orchard to your fruit wala or the grocery store where you go to, you pick it up, you peel it, you feel it, you have the smell, you have the fiber, you have the taste of that orange that is going into your body. You can feel it. I mean, maybe one part of it is perfect and one part of it is not, like everything in nature is. Versus something like an orange juice, it comes in a Tetra pack, it's made in a plant. Probably you've never connected to how that thing is made. It's gone through so much heat and processing. Maybe a lot of additives have been added to it just to keep it fresh. We all know that a fruit, once it's fallen from the tree, can only stay fresh for so long. That's nature's cycle. Versus a processed food can stay on the shelf for as long as the date is on there, which is not very natural. So that is the main difference between whole foods and processed foods. My recommendation would be eating as close to nature, eating, sourcing from farmers markets, sourcing from local places versus stuff that you can get packaged and stuff that has a shelf life. That is the stuff that we would maybe refrain from eating or eat minimally, only absolutely when needed.
Ah, okay. So without the loss of nutrition, you should eat whole food and feel wholesome, man. So
Yes.
good for our overall well-being as well. And on that note, what would be the best diet women can follow during menopause or before menopause, like the perimenopause stage, so on? What would be the best regime
I
diet?
think just like what the question that you asked, eating a very whole food based diet. So predominantly fruits and vegetables, seasonal. Most importantly, focusing on the greens and the green leafy vegetables. And it's not something that, oh, I need to have a salad or whip up a very exotic French name salad with this vinaigrette. Your sarson ka saag in the winter is a wonderful green leafy vegetable. Eat it with the makai ka roti. And every season we have a local green leafy vegetable that we probably don't even know the names of. And you can just, go down to your local veggie vendor and they'll have it. or not making it only into a green juice in a smoothie, but the way you would otherwise eat it, but making sure that the green leafies make way into your meals, definitely at least your lunches and dinners at all times. There's obviously, if you want to, you can eat the salad, the kale, whatever you want, but local seasonal greens, very, very important. Not fearing fat. I think, this word fat is associated with body image and so many other things, but there is so much good that comes out of fat. So, eating very good, healthy fats, ghee in your food, nuts are wonderful for all kinds of hormonal balances. One of the best things to keep your hormonal, like it's saying, keeping my hormones happy, giving them the nuts. um, Eating, like, your I would say, olive oil, coconut oil, any of the good healthy fats that are out there. Getting your omega-3 from good fatty fish. If you are pescatarian, or you eat meat, then that's like one of the best things you can eat for your body. Again, the fat is what helps with the hormonal balancing, as well as a lot of your insulin sensitivity as well. I think some general recommendations would be, especially for women going through menopause, is making sure you're eating non-GMO foods. So, if you're eating eggs, eating them as clean as possible. If you can, finding out that the hens have not been given other hormones. You're already going through a hormone party. You do not want another set of hormones from something else coming into your body. The milk that you're sourcing, so mainly dairy and chicken, to eat it as, and eggs and meat as clean as possible, as non-GMO. And a very important lifestyle thing that people can embrace very early on, and even definitely going into menopause, is eating in the cycle of nature. So having dinner around sunset. There is a reason that there is a cycle. Like, sun goes to sleep, like, we our digestion works just so much better, and there's so much which is hormonal that is related to our gut, that it's very important we give that importance to that evening meal around sunset. And yeah, that's a very important lifestyle thing as well. Grains. Not many women, on a regular basis, incorporate pseudo grains into their diet. We wait for the Navratri or the Ekadashi, and we have two of the most wonderful superfoods, super grains, amaranth, which is Rajgira, and buckwheat kuttu in our country. And we have lovely preparations in the forms of parathas, chillas, dhokla, khichdi. So incorporating these on a regular basis, they're a great source of protein, they're a natural source of iron and fiber, and they are low in insulin sensitivity. So incorporating them regularly in your meals, not waiting for that one festival a year for, to incorporate that. If you are traveling, or you're eating some Western diet, quinoa works in a very similar manner. But I personally think buckwheat is superior to quinoa. Also, reducing processed food, that is very, very important. 20% of the, following the 80-20, maybe 20% of the time. And bringing the joy of home cooking. So it's not like you have to stop eating these things, and you're not supposed to eat like just a leafy vegetable and rajgira roti for the rest of your life. No, you eat a variety of foods, eat variety of fruits and vegetables, but also eat a variety that is home cooked. Bring that joy back. Anything you like in a restaurant, incorporate that back at home. For example, like, we eat noodles, but now we eat buckwheat noodles. It's available over here, which is kuttu noodles. So it's just like, making those small changes into your lifestyle, either premenopausal, perimenopausal, or I say it's never too late, early to start. You start now. In general, these are good things for your body. And a very, very important thing for women in general, related to the home cooking, the kind of food you're eating, the kind of sourcing you're doing, is prioritizing yourself. So not waiting for that, big thing happening in your body, but just saying that I am important, I am very loved, and I love my body and myself, and I'm going to take care of it every day with great joy. So those are a few of the tips that are out
I am going to note these down.
there.
These are as many questions that I have, but there are more coming. I think we should try and get some of these questions answered. So let's move on to the questions coming from our viewers this evening.
Sure.
Um, Menopause has affected my life massively, particularly work life. I feel fatigued and sleepy most of the time. Please advise on this. This is a question by Shahzada Habib, who's just sent this across. What do you have to say for it?
So it's normal, with a lot of women, if you go back and remember during your period, you would have days when you could climb a mountain, and there'd be days that you felt extremely fatigued during your period as well. So similarly, during menopause, again, fatigue is something that is very normal. It can happen. Um, Key important thing from a supplementation standpoint is to make sure that you're getting enough magnesium, especially if the fatigue is causing you insomnia. Magnesium and a little bit of selenium as well. Nuts are a good natural source. And obviously, depending on your situation, you can look into maybe a supplement as well. Um, but in general, I think with fatigue, can you pull up the slides that I had over there for a minute?
Yep, sure.
I just want to talk about something real quick.
Sure.
So if you pull the second one up, the circle, yes. So if you look at it, we look at wellness in two forms, right? One is secondary foods, actually, which are the foods that we put in our body, like what we've been talking about, the actual foods. And there's also primary foods. So all these different aspects of our life, they affect our health and well-being. Just like she's mentioned that she feels predominantly fatigued at work. There are a lot of other things that are happening where maybe there is extra stress, and then because of the menopause, because of the hormonal changes, maybe there's not enough joy, maybe there's not enough self-love, and the stress is causing more physical fatigue into the body. So I'm just bringing this up, saying that there are both aspects of things that are happening. It's a life changing time that a woman is going through. So it's not just about popping a couple of things into your body and you're going to feel better. It's emotionally the support that you need. I mean, maybe from somebody outside as well as from within yourself. It's all the other transitions that may be happening at this time period. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Surely does, of course. And then there is Priya Desai. She says, recommend a good diet for perimenopause stage. She's probably going through the symptoms of symptoms of menopause. So she'd probably like something to alleviate that.
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to what I said, having something which is a very whole food diet. I mean, I cannot recommend something unless I know the person. It's so bio individual. What is that person's lifestyle? But again, a few general guidelines would be making sure you're eating a lot of seasonal fruit and vegetable. Starting your day with nuts and fruit is always a good idea. Traditionally, like soak the nuts in water overnight, and a seasonal fruit of choice in the morning. Have a good lunch, local, whatever you like. Stick to one grain at a time per meal, generally, to prevent the insulin sensitivity in your perimenopausal stage, and include pseudo grains, especially at the night time. Again, this is something I'm giving you as general guidelines. It would depend from body to body. Some people may not be able to digest Rajgira or Amaranth very well at certain times of the day. So it would have to be extremely individual then. But for some people, I have clients who are going through perimenopause who do very well with an intermittent fasting sort of plan where they eat just 2 meals. Some do well with eating 3-4 meals, small bunches throughout the day. It completely depends on your schedule, what your activity throughout the day is. And one very important thing is to perimenopause, I mean, start resistance training of some format as early as you can, but definitely perimenopause, you start movement in your body. So it's what we call NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So it's not just about the 30-40 minutes you go to the gym or your Zumba class, but how active and mobile are you throughout the day. Today, sitting is even more dangerous than smoking. So, you just making sure that you have enough standing hours, you're doing whatever method you have, whether you get your walk in or you just clock your steps, but staying active is very important. That activity does wonders for the hormonal changes in your body.
Right. So we have Rachna Bakru wants to ask you a question that's more menopause related. She says she's been experiencing hot flushes for about 3 years now. She
Okay.
is asking when can I expect this to get okay or better?
Honestly, that's something that her OBGYN would have to answer. It's something that would only maybe the doctor can tell you in terms of your hormones, where they are, what the levels are. It's a range. Some people go through menopause for multiple years, some go through it for a couple months. All I would say is that it's just do a lot of self-care, lot of whatever it takes to make yourself feel better in your body, whether it's massages, me time, spending time in nature. But whether there is a definite timeline for those hot flushes, no. It could be like one day where it suddenly goes away, but I mean, I think an OBGYN would be a better person to give you a more detailed answer on your particular situation.
Right. Moving on from that, Pushpa has written to us. She's saying she has thyroid problems and she also has bone loss. I mean, uh,
Yes.
she has just gone through a menopause transition, so she wants to know what should be her nutrition intake or uh, what foods could help her.
Yeah, so I think with the bone loss, depending on the bone density, she might need a calcium supplement. Most of the times, when you are supplementing with calcium, it's also very important to check the vitamin D levels, and vitamin D probably would need an oral supplement as well. Naturally, spending as much time in the sun, maybe like at least a couple hours, maybe an hour or so in the morning, getting morning sunlight or a morning exercise in where you're getting natural sunlight would be wonderful. But again, like I said, depending on the levels, you'd need the supplementation. Calcium, very interesting, because dairy is generally considered a very good source of calcium, which it is. So milk, cheese, paneer, but so are things like sesame seeds. It's winter. Till is a very, very strong source of calcium. So having sesame seeds sprinkled or plain, or in a tahini sauce, you can sometimes make a tahini and mix it into your soup. Um, it's a wonderful way to get your calcium supplementation as well.
Nice. I'm getting hungry. So Sharanya has a more wellness related query. Sharanya Sajan, she's asking if yoga helps in the hormonal changes that occur during menopause.
Sure. So any kind of movement is very, very important for all hormones to be in balance, right? Um, any form of, so I would say there is resistance training. So depending on the kind of yoga that you would do, yes, it would work really well, because the resistance training is what really helps with the insulin and other hormones in your body. So it's a good idea. but having some form of also resistance training along with the yoga would definitely help you a lot more. But yeah, yoga, I mean, also if you're doing yoga even for calming yourself, for breath work, there's a lot that goes on with yoga with the mind, and like a meditative practice as well, that works for wonderful TLC for most people.
Right. So, Jani Mitra has a question for you now. She says, she asks, can menstruation cycle recur after 1 year of menopause? Does it give rise to joint pain? If so, what would be the cure or the kind of, nutrition that she could actually balance it with?
So again, menstruation coming in 1 year after menopause, it's just a sign that you're not fully done with your menopause, right? There are a lot of people. Everyone goes through different stages of it, different periods of it, depending on what is going on in your body. That would be more of a OBGYN question. Joint pain, again, focusing on your calcium and focusing a lot on your healthy fats, very important. Like ghee, like lubrication is what is important for your joints. So having good amount of healthy fats in your diet, clean healthy fats sourced well, as well as keeping the movement going, like whether it's even little movement. A lot of people feel that, oh, I have pain in my joints, I should be sitting more. No, maybe you should not try and do a cartwheel or a headstand, or one of these aerobic, gymnastic kind of exercise on your own, but keep the movement going to keep your joints going long term.
Right. Rachna has another question for you. How can vegetarians increase their protein intake, and which carbs should be reduced to deal with insulin sensitivity during menopause?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So protein, there's a lot of protein in a lot of plant-based foods that we generally eat. Surprisingly, beans, legumes have a lot of protein. Depending on where you are with your body, you can also substitute with like maybe a protein shake from, again, very individual. What is where your weight is at, what is your particular protein requirement at that time, how does your body process the protein. But yes, you could take a healthy protein shake as well. And you can also, what's the second part of the question is the insulin sensitivity. Yes, very important for insulin sensitivity is to try to stick to one grain at a time, eating as whole grains as possible. So the unpolished rice versus the polished white rice, the the wheat that is not the packaged wheat that is coming in the brand written on it without saying it in the grocery store, which is as good as maida, but the more unrefined meat, the ancestral wheat varieties like kapli, that is available in India, those are very little genetically modified wheat versus the more new wheat and mass produced wheat that is out there. Introducing, like I said earlier, buckwheat and amaranth into your daily meals, at least maybe one meal or a couple meals a week. And that's how you maintain your insulin sensitivity. Also, millets. India has a plethora of millets out there, depending on your ancestry, depending on the time of the year, depending on what suits you personally. Like incorporating those millets into your diet as well, but not fearing rice, not fearing wheat. But yeah, do not eat the packaged bread that comes and sits on the shelf and it has a shelf life of 10 days. So reducing the maida in your diet, that's what helps with the insulin sensitivity. And eating your fats play very important role in helping to manage the insulin sensitivity as well, the healthy fats. I hope that answers her question.
Yes, I'm sure it does. Saru Jain has written, she says that she is in a perimenopause phase.
Yeah.
This is starting, and she's been craving. I mean, she has this undying craving for sugar.
Mm-hmm.
How do I control this? I mean, how does that help? Oh, like, what do I do about my sugar craving?
So sugar cravings, again, very important to get it also checked with a diabetologist to make sure that along with your perimenopause, you're not pre-diabetic. There's a test called HbA1c, what is that range? Sometimes when you are on the onset of diabetes, you crave more sugar than otherwise. And then it's like a vicious circle. Sugar is actually 8 times more addictive than cocaine. So the more sugar you have, the more your body craves it. Um, if you are non-diabetic and you're just otherwise craving sugar, understanding, maybe reducing the sugar gradually in your diet, starting with some, smaller substitutes, like maybe going to a lower glycemic sugar, like coconut sugar instead of pure white processed cane sugar from time to time. Also, I mean, cravings is something that we manage a lot more on a one-to-one basis. When I work with clients, understanding the psychological reason behind the craving, the timing of the craving, why certain foods may cause an up or down in your body's blood sugar that may make you crave sugar. A lot of times people crave sugar is because they don't have the sweetness left in life. So it's a lack of joy. Bringing that sweetness back into your life in other forms can help you realize that that is what you needed, not the actual sugar into your body. So these are just some of the things that can happen. Again, it's very bio individual, very happening from person to person and what that individual is going through.
Right. One more question. So now there's Nilu Juneja, who has a corporate career, and she says that she generally has a sedentary lifestyle because it's mostly sitting. Her job is more sit. I mean, it has a more sitting lifestyle kind of a thing, and she says her diet has been, but then she wants to know if there are any lifestyle changes. She's in her 40s. She wants to know if there are any lifestyle changes that she can incorporate to make her life better.
So one is get moving. Even if you can also look at, a lot of people now in work from home are getting what you call the standing desk. So you're actually standing instead of sitting. Those are small changes that you can start. Another tip I give a lot of my clients who are are on calls all the time is to block 5 minutes every hour on your calendar and walk around for 5 minutes. That's how it starts. So 5 minutes in an 8-hour workday is 40 minutes in the day. If you can't take out 40 minutes to work out or take a walk in the morning. So a sedentary lifestyle, you have to start getting movement in some format or the other. I would also recommend that it's a good time to maybe pick up a hobby, maybe a hobby that is active in any format. It could, and start with 10 to 15 minutes a day of that hobby that you can take out for yourself, maybe in the morning or the evening. These are a couple of things that you can try.
Thank you so much. I think, I mean, there are many more questions. I'll just direct it your way later, but I think we're running out of time today. And I think we've asked you so much, and that it has been an insightful session today. I'm sure most of our viewers would agree with it. They're also thanking you for the 1 grain at a time advice.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this was Rachna who was thanking. Uh, it's been insightful for me, especially now. I can kind of get a sense of how I can plan meals for myself. I mean, midlife, but then I can prepare definitely, and the kind of changes. I'm sure there are others who feel just like I have, and they probably have a lot of perspective from this session. We're really glad you too, you were able to take some time out from your schedule and spend time on this session with us, giving so much of insight. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Meghna. You've been wonderful. I'll just also share my details.
Yes.
I do health coaching workshops for groups as well as one-on-one health coaching. If anybody wants to reach out or plan their perimenopausal journey or in general, I'm available over here. I think my details were with Rakshita, if she can pull that up. If anybody is interested, or you can email the coordinator and get it from there.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
We're really glad to have had you on this session. I know I've said this at least about 5 times now.
No, you're wonderful, Meghna. You're lovely to spend some time with.
Thank you, Gunjan. You're really kind. Yes, we will share your details as you just give out. So
I
people
think in
direct
conclusion,
your questions.
I just want to share one more small tip, Meghna. If you
Sure.
open the primary foods, I would say, we've spoken a lot about nutrition in terms of food during menopausal time, but I would say three things other than the food that you eat that if women can really focus on in general, but definitely coming through this huge transition phase that's happening. One is physical activity. So, get moving earlier in life at whatever capacity you have, and incorporating some kind of resistance training. The second is relationships, communicating to your loved ones, your friends, your family, your partner, your pet, if you have to, this is a huge transition you're going through and you need their support in this time. Maybe it's support to say, I can't cook today, will you cook for me? Or let's order a healthier meal in that works for my body as well. Or that I want to cry today and can you hear me out? Or I need help up to a degree where maybe I need to go to a professional. So the relationships are a very important time. A lot of times women just subdue this, and trust me, that does not go in the right way for the hormones. Just if that party is happening and everything else is dancing, then verbalize that and get the support of your loved ones. And the third most important from here is joy, like self-love, self-care, whatever little bit that brings you joy, doing something for yourself every day, if that is even for maybe a minute a day. It's alarming, but the number of people, especially women, who cannot find even 1 minute of 24 hours for themselves to do something that is joyous for themselves. So prioritizing that, because it is a big transition that you are going through, and it's important to make yourself a priority. So those are three like non-food related things I would highly recommend that people focus on.
Definitely. Yes. I mean, I agree and noted. Yeah. So we have had a wonderful session, like I said, and this was very insightful. You can all, for all of you out there, you can reach out to Gunjan on her email, which you can see on the screen.
And the Luxy Hippie is my Instagram handle if anybody wants any information out there. Yes.
Thank you for making my life so easy. Well, it's been a great 1 hour, and now we'll have to. I mean, it's sad that it has to come to an end, but all good things must end, and we'll have new beginnings. And thank you so much, Gunjan, for joining us. And
yes, and lots of love to all the women going through their menopause journey out there.
Yes, kudos and strength.
Yes.
On that note, let's call it a day today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.